You know, a guy who's got a lot of money coming to him, Brian, is John Wall. And again, it's rare that a 5-year, $210 million deal is not big news. But John Wall is seeking an extension. I guess 4 years, 170 is where he's going to be. What else can you tell us about Washington's willingness to extend him at that number?
Yeah, we've got a new word in the NBA. It's called the SUPERMAX. Steph Curry is going to probably sign one here in the next short couple of days. And here we have a SUPERMAX offer being made to John Wall by the Washington Wizards today. Now, this is going to extend him out, if he chooses to take it, until 2023. Yeah. That's the kind of length that we're talking about at this point. And so, as you can imagine, they're going to be careful about, John's going to be careful about committing himself that long term. And he wants to sit back and think about it and talk about it. This is the difference, Kevin, between Paul George and John Wall. Had Paul George made that All-NBA team, this is the type of offer that the Pacers could have been giving him tonight, and he could have been locking this in. Instead, it was John Wall that got the slot at the guards position on the third-team All-NBA, and so now it's the Wizards doing it. So I have been told by sources that John is not necessarily basing this decision on what the Wizards do in free agency this summer. That said, now is when they're making the offer, and keeping Otto Porter and making a compelling offer to Bojan Bogdanovic, who was a key midseason pickup for them, would be good to show John Wall they were serious about competing in the East. And again, if I'm John Wall, I'm sitting there saying the East is ripe for the taking. Come on, Wizards, let's spend some money. Let's go into the luxury tax and see if we can make a run at the Cavs. The Bulls and the Pacers got weaker. The Celtics did not get stronger. And that's all going to play into John Wall's decision coming up.
You mentioned the Bulls, and obviously Minnesota, some people would say, stole Jimmy Butler away from them in the deal on draft night. And Minnesota was involved in another deal today where they trade Ricky Rubio to the Utah Jazz. It's a move where, for Minnesota, it frees up cap space. They get a first-round pick in return. Funny enough, Oklahoma City's first-round pick from a few seasons ago. And so it allows Minnesota the flexibility to go get a free agent. It also gives Utah a starting point guard. But Brian, it's not necessarily the fit that all the big stars in Utah that are under contract, namely Rudy Gobert, is reportedly in love with. How about this deal?
Well, this is one of these domino effect deals. Let's go both ways. In Minnesota, it clears $33 million in salary cap space that they are now going to spend. And we believe it is going to be on free agent point guard Jeff Teague, who will leave the Indiana Pacers. Unless the Pacers come back over the top tonight, the Pacers are making moves. But Jeff Teague is lined up to go to Minnesota on a wealthy new deal to replace Ricky Rubio with terms that still allow the Wolves to be aggressive in other free agent moves. It gives the Utah Jazz cost certainty with their point guard. They know that they've got Ricky Rubio at $14 million next year. They don't have to get into bidding for George Hill. Now, the reason that's important, as I said, domino effect, they would really like to retain Joe Ingles, their young Australian, off-the-bench guard. And he's had a lot of interest, especially from the Orlando Magic. So by moving away from George Hill and locking into cost certainty with Rubio, it gives them the opportunity to keep Joe Ingles. Why is that important? So that when they meet with Gordon Hayward on Monday, they can say, we're making moves to keep this team together. And I know there was reports out there about Rudy Gobert, but he has given an interview tonight to Hoops Hype where he has said he is very excited and thrilled about getting Ricky Rubio. So I don't know where that is. I know this, that Rudy Gobert is starting a $100 million contract. The first check from that is due starting tomorrow, and I think he's going to take that to the bank and be very happy.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons to be happy, and the good news there is that sort of simmers down that budding international incident that we had possibly had on our hands between Spain and France there, between Gobert and Ricky Rubio. Ramona Shelburne, Kyle Lowry is another guy who could really help a lot of teams that could potentially be there for the taking. What are you hearing about Kyle Lowry?
Well, I thought what was interesting is when Ricky Rubio goes to Utah, what does that do to the point guard market in Minnesota? Kyle Lowry's name came up there, but we're all hearing, what I'm hearing is that he goes back to Toronto on a shorter-term deal than I think we were all expecting. But if he's not on the board there for Minnesota, that obviously locks up the possibility of Jeff Teague right there. So now everybody who has point guards is looking at what New York does. They obviously need a veteran point guard. Do they go for George Hill? Do the Spurs get in on George Hill? That point guard market, once the Rubio trade went down, that really changed the point guard market and broke things loose so that now teams can see where everybody else is slotting in. The other guy you want to watch, though, is Derrick Rose in New York, in San Antonio, and other teams that if they miss out on Kyle Lowry or George Hill or Drew Holiday, who's meeting with New Orleans at 9:01, Derrick Rose is also on the board there as a point guard.
Are you telling me a star is staying in the East? He's not going to the West? Kyle Lowry, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that's what it's looking like right now.